All right. Well, greetings, everybody. Welcome once again to the Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Fredland. And as you guys know, the goal with SSB is to guide small business owners from chaos to confidence through information, connection, and coaching. And these successes are only part of the story of our overall vision because as small business owners thrive, the economy and the vitality of their community also increases. And this is the community revitalization movement that we're talking about. This is what we're fueling. So check it out at smallbusiness.com. Today, I'm excited. I have an opportunity to speak with Luiza Dreasher. We're going to be talking about diversity. And so with that, I'm going to bring her in right away here. I don't want to waste a minute. And we want to talk about this. So Luiza, welcome to the SSB podcast.
Oh, thank you so much, Steve, for inviting me. I feel really privileged to have been invited to share some thoughts on diversity and inclusion in the workplace with the SSB community. I am truly, truly honored. For those who don't know me, I am Luiza Dreasher, President and CEO of Mastering Cultural Differences. Basically, I work with individuals and organizations that want team members to understand cultural differences and work well across those differences. In fact, in my upcoming book, Mastering Cultural Differences, Strategies for Leading a Global Workforce, I discuss cultural differences impacting today's workplaces, as well as the best practices for creating diverse and truly inclusive organizations. You might be detecting an accent. I would like to say, because I have been, a long time in Minnesota, that's my Minnesotan accent, but that's not the case. I was born in Brazil, but I've been here for many years. And I also have had international experiences in Spain, Ukraine, Japan. So I think of myself as Brazilian by birth, but multicultural by choice.
Nice. No, I thought it was a North Dakota accent, so I was a little bit wrong in what that was. Well, that's fantastic. It's a privilege to have you on. You're very accomplished and a very forward-thinking thought leader in this space, and so we're trying to get people to explain some of these things to our small business leaders. And so I just want to start, maybe just talk a little bit about what do we mean by diversity? I think a lot of us have a different perspective on what that even means. What is diversity? What is inclusion? And so let's sort of set the stage right now, talking about what do you mean when you talk about diversity and inclusion?
Sure. When I teach about diversity and inclusion, I always want my students and my clients to think about diversity are all the personal characteristics that we bring with ourselves. And there are many of them. We tend to think of diversity as race and ethnicity and gender, but there's a lot more to that. There are some aspects that are visible, others that I may choose to share or not, my sexuality, my political affiliation. There's also invisible aspects of diversity, like, for example, a learning disability. So diversity is all the differences that we bring with us. Inclusion, I tend to think of diversity and inclusion as two sides of the same coin. Inclusion is when you have a place, an environment where I feel respected, I feel valued, that my contributions will be taken seriously. And that's what inclusion is all about. And that's why diversity and inclusion have to come together and work organically together. Because in a sense, it's easy to bring diversity into an organization, but you also have to make sure those individuals want to stay in your organization. And that's what we have to really focus on, because we tend to think of diversity as government mandates and reaching numerical benchmarks, but that's not enough, not today. You also have to make sure those individuals want to stay in your organization.
It's so interesting because I've done workforce analytics. So I've been in HR doing analytics with this sort of thing and worked with some really big companies. And, I think so much of the push is for diversity, And I think not as much of a needed push for inclusion, which, they might say the opposite, but what happens is, you say, okay, well, what do the numbers say? Let's make sure we become more diverse, often in those external factors that you're talking about, but yet turnover remains high in those
Yes.
populations, I think because we're failing on the inclusion side.
Yes, I agree with you.
Yeah.
You cannot have one without the other.
Well, it feels like I love that. You just can't be effective, right? Like diversity is among us, right? We are a diverse population. Diversity exists, and we can bring that into our organizations, even our small businesses. But if we don't create an atmosphere and an environment where there's a respectful, inclusive environment, it's not really true. You're not really practicing true positive diversity, right?
Nope.
Okay.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. So talk a little bit. So what is your role in that? So obviously you write about this now. Do you actually consult in this area as well, or how do you, when people come to you and say help, how do you help them?
I help them. First of all, a little bit about me. For some weird reason, I was always attracted to diversity. Differences to me were always very exciting. And that's why I started, learning about it and doing research and did a lot of writing. And I started doing consulting. When individuals want to, bring me in to help me. Help them understand the importance of diversity and inclusion, in more specifically understanding cultural differences. I have a strong background on global differences. So a lot of my work with organizations is in not only diversity and inclusion, but also focusing on global diversity.
So I love it. I mean, it's so good. So why does it matter? Like, let's talk about, I've been, like I mentioned, in the large companies, but, we're specifically now we're talking to these small businesses, people that maybe have 50 employees or 5 employees or whatever. And they're saying, well, diversity, schmaversity, whatever. But why does it matter to them as part of not only maybe doing the right thing, but also from their business perspective?
Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter the size. Diversity now is a fact of business. That is not going to change. What is going to change is how you deal with it. And we need, small businesses need to deal with it, because I see there's 3 major forces bringing diversity to the forefront. And this is important. It doesn't matter if you're a big business or a small business. One of them, I would say, demographic changes. In terms of race and ethnicity, the U.S. Census Bureau has projected that by 2044, the U.S. is going to become a majority minority nation. About 56% of all U.S. Americans will belong to one of the non-white groups. In fact, there was a report that was released back in January, and they were saying that nearly 70% of the largest cities in the US are more racially diverse now than they were in 2010. And this trend is going to, will continue. In Minnesota, for example, when you look at the BIPOC population, the Black, Indigenous people of color, they have been steadily growing. In the 60s, they were about 2% of the population. In the 90s, they were 6%. Today, they're about 20%. In fact, there was a report from US News. Minneapolis and St. Paul are among the most diverse cities in the United States. The people of color population in Minneapolis is about 44%. Minneapolis, St. Paul. The rest of the state is about 16%. So the population is changing. Another change that I think that is propelling businesses to focus on diversity is, I would say, change in immigration patterns. When you look, immigration has greatly influenced the economic and cultural development of Minnesota. Minnesota is home to about 400,000 immigrants from around the world. They represent about 88% of the population. Until the 70s, what was happening was most of the immigrants coming in were from Europe, Germany, Norway, Sweden. Today, the largest groups are from Mexico, from India, from Laos, Somalia, Vietnam. Minnesota has also had a long tradition of welcoming, refugees. So we are, becoming, there's a large international population among us. And speaking of that, another force that is forcing us to think differently is globalization. Globalization has proven to be a huge game changer for small and big companies, and it's opening up business opportunities all over the world. So when you look at the workforce today, at the workplace, it's really very different than it was about, a couple of decades ago. You have more women, more people with disabilities. The LGBT community doesn't need to hide their identity anymore. More minorities, more foreign-born individuals. For the first time in history, we have 4 distinct generations in the workplace. You have baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z. They're all sharing the same coffee pot in the break room. And what that's doing is we have all these different groups with different expectations, different priorities, different beliefs. So leaders today really need to adopt new strategies if they want to meet the needs of their diverse employees. The bottom line is diversity is an imperative. It's no longer something nice that you have to do it. You have to focus on it. I don't see any other choice.
Yeah. So why is it an imperative? So, I agree with you. Those are wonderful statistics, and it's interesting, those forces. I've seen them all firsthand. But, some people might say, like, I've got so many other things to worry about. Whether they're small business, medium business, I got to worry about payroll. I've got to worry about this. I got to worry about that. I can't heap on another concern, especially when it seems so vague. Like, why, as a business owner, why should I care about diversity?
I would focus on the benefits, what diversity can bring to you workplace. First of all, you don't have any choice, but you have a lot to gain when you focus on diversity, because studies have shown that there's many benefits if you manage to bring diversity in, and if you create an environment where they want to stay. For example, diverse businesses, they are better equipped to attract diverse customers and suppliers. Your workforce needs to resemble the community it serves, because diverse employees are better able to relate to customers who are like themselves. Think about the market reach and profit. When you look at the combined purchasing power of the 4 minority groups, it's not only huge, but it's growing. For example, in 2016, the US Hispanic buying power was larger than the gross domestic product of Mexico. African Americans' buying power was estimated at 1.2 trillion in 2016. And it will go to 1.5 trillion in 2021. The combined minority buying power is now $3.9 trillion. So if you manage diversity effectively, you will be better positioned to reap the benefits of the extraordinary buying power of US minority groups. I would say also, another benefit for you, it's increased problem solving and innovation. Research has shown that high quality decisions are made when different solutions are brought to the table and are evaluated. In fact, the Chrysler VP James Holton said, teams become truly effective when they represent the full spectrum of diversity. Diverse teams are proven to experience increased productivity. Again, research shows that teams that are diverse in terms of ethnicity, age, values, background, training, they are more productive and innovative than homogeneous groups. So increased productivity has the potential of generating, increased profits. So the way I see it is that the success of your business will depend on how well you understand and you work well with your diverse employees and customers and your global business partners. But let me clear, it's not about, like I said before, not about bringing in protected classes, so to speak. That's the diversity piece, and that is not enough nowadays. It's about recognizing and valuing differences, about creating a place where all employees, they feel valued, they feel respect, they can be themselves. That's the inclusion piece that is often missing. Inclusion is about creating a business where your employees want to stay and they can be themselves and they can be productive. That's why it's important to focus on diversity and inclusion.
Yeah, I love that. And I think for me, my experience is just that it is that exactly what you talked about. It's moving from a paradigm of it's the right thing to do, which it is, but if that's all it is, that's not enough. I think people need to realize that this is the right thing to do for your business. Like from a business perspective, like you said, decisions are made better. If you don't have every perspective brought, you can't make the right decisions. So you are actually operating suboptimally if you don't have a diverse set of perspectives solving your problems. And like you touched on it really quickly, but I think it's so critical to understand this, especially in rural parts of the country where maybe it's very not as diverse as others. You have to recognize that your customer base is becoming more and more diverse. It's where you live, it's in your state, it's in your country, it's in your world. And if you are doing anything online or anything anywhere, your customer base is changing more rapidly than you are. Who in your organization is able to relate to them, and who's going to be able to sell them products in a way that makes sense to them and their culture if you don't have diversity in your sales team or in your company, right? I mean, that it's people are wondering why sales are down, why they can't penetrate these other markets, because they're still selling to one specific people group, which is shrinking as a part of the whole.
Mm-hmm. In fact, when I teach diversity management, and one of the assignments I give my students, I want them, I have them look at different companies and take a look at their website. And with the diversity and inclusion lens is on. So they look at the mission and vision statement. Does it mention diversity? If it does, or if it doesn't, what does that mean? Can you tell me if that organization, that business is really committed to diversity and inclusion? Look at their career pages. How is diversity presented? Look at the images that are on the website. Whose picture is up or not? And I have them rate that business. Is this a diverse business? Are they taking diversity seriously? And a lot of them tell me, gee, I never thought of that, but the next organization, the next job I'm going to apply for, I'm going to look at these things, because if that is not, I don't feel that is a place where I can be myself, I don't want to work there.
Yeah,
And
I think Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that's one of the three things that small businesses need to do. Yes, they are small, but one of the things that they have to pay attention to is, to have a strong web presence. You need to make sure your website shows how diverse you are, because individuals are looking at that. They will be looking for that. Make sure that your site is, connected to Google Analytics. Is your site mobile friendly? Does it look good on different devices? Are there any broken links? There are a lot of things that business owners need to do to make sure their website have a clean bill of health, so to speak. And those are things that you need to do to make sure your site works for you. Another thing that they need to do is they cannot neglect the power of social media these days. Experts say that you have to post on social media, be it Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, what have you, at least once a week, because that's what's going to help you become more findable. So I would say, one thing that you can start doing is have a strong, web presence and social media presence, and make sure it reflects that you are serious about diversity, because individuals are looking at that. They want to make sure they belong.
Yeah, I'd love to explore that a little bit, because I see this in some of the clients I coach, but I see this and also just across the board, where it feels like there's a disjoint, I guess, between what people are posting sort of on their small business website and what they're posting personally on social media. And I'm curious your perspective on this, or advice you have for small business owners. For example, you can see people, their website, maybe they make sure that they have a picture that includes, people of color and different genders and that sort of thing, which, it's a stock photo, but they're making sure that they're representing those things, at least in their pictures. But then some of the things that they're saying on social media are incongruent with that, or doesn't feel like they're being, it feels like they're showing a picture of diversity, but they're giving a message that's not inclusive. And I'm wondering if you can speak to that a little bit, about the damage that could be doing, or the opportunity that they're missing as a small business owner by what, in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, by giving a perspective of diversity, but the core messages seem non-inclusive.
Well, I am no expert in social media, or I'm no webmaster, but I know that you need to make sure you cannot neglect that aspect of diversity and inclusion, because individuals are looking at that. They see a job posting, they are going to, first place they go is they go to the website, and they want to see what you're all about. If you're, is diversity part of your mission, part of your vision? Is it mentioning there? Who is working there? Am I going to be coming in, and am I going to be the only woman, or the only Latina, or the only African American? That's not a place that it's not easy to work in places like that. Do I see someone like myself? Am I represented? Am I someone that could, that would want to do business with this organization? So they have to be serious about that, and really think about being consistent in the messages they send, that we value diversity, we value inclusion.
Yeah, and so I'm also kind of curious, like, what your perspective is. Maybe you can help people out there that maybe this is the blind spot for them. I think we all have blind spot things that we don't see about ourselves, or how we do things. And I think there's a fair number of small business owners who want to really, ultimately, they want to surround themselves with people who think like them, who are going to, tell them they're great, that are going to believe them, kind of the old yes man, yes woman sort of people, because that makes them feel good. And maybe for some of them, they left the corporate world because they couldn't handle having people with a different perspective from them. So I'm just going to do it myself. So we have a lot of these business owners who are, this is how I think, and I'm going to surround myself with staff, employees who think the same way, because that makes me feel good and that's more comfortable. And I think what they're missing out on then is the diversity, the different perspectives that can ultimately lead to a more robust business model. And so I'd love to have you talk to that person or those people that are sort of in that mode of saying, I don't really want diversity, not because I'm racist, not because I'm sexist. At least I don't think so. I'm doing it because I don't want to have conflict. I want people just to be on board and all move in the same direction. So what would you say to somebody that's sort of in that spot of struggling with this because they just want people that agree with them?
I see that happen quite a bit. In fact, I've written a couple of articles about this, and I'll share with you. One big mistake organizations make, and that really works to keeping diversity out, is when you're looking for the best fit. In fact, if I had to say, I would have organizations truly, step away from that, because what that accomplishes is it keeps diversity out. It keeps a lot of talent out, because when you're looking for the best fit, you want someone, like you said, who thinks like me, who acts like me, who behaves like me. And usually what is happening is unconscious bias is taking place. So it's like, what you want really, when you do that, you're looking for a beer buddy, someone that you can hang out with, but not someone who's going to bring different perspectives into the workplace, who's going to help grow. The best hiring decisions I made very early on in my career, I was given the great advice, because let's face it, everybody you come in, every resume that you look, they're going to meet qualifications. They're qualified, because otherwise they don't make it to the table. But the best decisions I made was when I looked, what else can this individual, contribute? What can they add? And when that happened, when I approached a hiring decision that way, that really helped me grow as an organization, as a company. Because look for, not for culture fit, look for culture add. What are different perspectives and values can this individual bring to the table? And that ultimately will help you grow as an organization.
Oh, that's so good. So, okay, so let's say I'm running a small business and I'm hearing you. Luiza's got all this wisdom, and yeah, it's been a blind spot. I need to make some changes. Again, it could be because you think it's the right thing to do. It could be a blind spot that's been revealed to you, or you realize I need to make better decisions and I need more perspectives to make better decisions. Whatever the rationale is, now you've got business owners saying, okay, I need to become better at this. I want to become more diverse. I want to become more inclusive. I want this to be the kind of workplace where I'm attracting the best people, because it's not just people that look or act like me, it's the best people. And they're going to come from all walks of life. They might have some of these, like you said, externally visible differences, or they might be internally differences. Either way, I want the best people because I want to succeed in my business. So I want to make the change, Luiza. I want them ready. I want to make the change. What's my first step? Like, what do I do when I realize I want to become more diverse and have a more inclusive workplace? What do I do?
I would say, have really start focusing on a strategic recruitment and retention of diverse talent. Really make a point of tracking diverse talent in your area. In fact, the last article that I wrote, there were like 12 different strategies that you can do to bring diversity in. Make sure you are seen as someone, as an organization that is serious about that. Put in place, a good program with benefits, that will help to bring diversity in, and really take the time to think about your organization's culture, and how, and show that you're creating a culture of inclusion, so your diverse talent will want to stay. So I would also say, engage with your customers, because they will tell you what they need. Find out what they like, what they don't like. How are you going to meet their needs better than the person next door? This is extremely important. If you have an online business, for example, add a survey, questions, by the time they check out, use data strategically. People tend to be afraid of data, but data can be, can help you if you use it strategically. Use, the results to make sure your business, is better for all your customers, including diverse customers. As I mentioned, think back of the buying power of minority customers, 3.9 billion trillion dollars. You're going to be losing, leaving a lot of money on the table. And make sure you have a strong customer focus and you can meet your customer needs, because that's what's going to keep me coming back. The way I'm treated, and I'm a valued customer, and so that I'll come back. I'll make sure and come back if you meet my needs.
Yeah, and I think during this time of the virus and the pandemic, and a lot of small businesses are hurting. Revenue streams are drying up, and people are looking for ways to increase their revenue. But I think some of them haven't yet made the adjustment to become more inclusive in their messaging. And so, yeah, you're taking all of this potential revenue, these potential sales, and you're narrowing it down to one slice of the population that resonates with your message. And that maybe was fine when things were normal. That was enough maybe to sustain you as a small business. But now they're going, I need more revenue, but they're still delivering the same message. I think one way to do that is to expand your customer base by just having a more diverse and inclusive message in your products, right?
Absolutely. Because that is going to continue. You think of all the immigrants, all the people of color in the Minneapolis, St. Paul, in our state. These are people who are here. They are renting houses. They buy groceries. They have needs. These are the people who are going to be coming into your shop and doing business with you. And it's not just you have to think how do you meet their needs? You don't have one set of customers anymore. You have multiple, and you better make sure you are in a position that you can meet all the different needs.
Yeah, and you don't have the luxury anymore of just choosing one type of person to go after. And if that message is not getting out to the right people, and if you're sort of in this world where more and more people are becoming aware of diversity and more sensitive to inclusion and intentionally trying to make the world a better planet by having everybody engaged, I think more and more people are sensitive to that. So even some of your customers that are your target audience you might lose them. Because they're going to pick up on the fact that you are not acting with diversity and inclusion in mind. So I think there's some real concerns there for small business owners, but it's also an opportunity for some as well. So we're getting toward the end of the time. Obviously, I could talk to you for hours and hours about this, and I know we had a lot of things we were going to cover. I probably derailed it a little bit, but as we start to wrap up, I want to ask you: are there any things that maybe that are burning on your heart that you wanted to share that we didn't get a chance to talk about?
Maybe just a few tips on what you need to do to really create a diverse and inclusive business. First, I would say understand that it's not about government mandated regulations or achieving numerical benchmarks. That's old thinking. That is not enough. It's about valuing differences, and because that's what it's going to enable the creation of a more productive and profitable workplace. I think to bring more diversity into your business, you really need to project and sustain and show that you're truly a multicultural organization. and that you recognize diverse talent, no matter how they look like. You know, one of the articles that I wrote, they said, the talent is talent is talent.
Mm-hmm.
Paraphrasing Hamilton, the
Mm-hmm.
Hamilton, when Lee-Manuel Miranda says that in the end, love is love is love. I ended
Love
my
it.
article with talent is talent is talent. It doesn't matter how they look like. It is talent, and you need to get used to seeing it that way. Your workplace needs to resemble the market that it serves. That's essential. You also
Mm-hmm.
need a workforce that can work well across differences, that can form productive relationships with diverse clients, and has the ability to help your company expand into diverse markets. That's where the golden key is, so to speak. I would say abandon your ethnocentric thinking. My way is the only way. That doesn't work anymore. Keep in mind that your way is only one way and not necessarily the best way. Remember that we always look at situations with our cultural tinted glasses on. You always have to remember that I don't want you don't need to remove them, but you have to remember that they are there so that you can make the necessary adjustments. And I would say, if you do not notice, learn about, and acquire the skills to work effectively with diverse employees, diverse clients, diverse partners, misunderstandings will occur.
Mm.
And this could really greatly compromise the effectiveness of a diverse and inclusive workplace. And also remember that companies that manage diversity effectively are better able to reap the benefits of the extraordinary economic power of U.S. minority groups.
Mm. I love it. Yeah, good stuff. Look at that now. So, all right, we're gonna wrap up there, unfortunately, but I assume some of that. I know you write articles and you've written books, I believe, as well.
Yeah, coming
Okay,
out
so
this fall.
that's right, coming out this fall. So, all right, so people are going, all right, I like this. I need to understand this more. Where do they find your articles? Where do they find your book? How do they connect with you in some way, shape, or form?
I will send you a couple of articles that I think will be pertinent with what we talked about. And in the article, you'll see my contact information. They can email me. It's Luiza at masteringculturaldifferences.com. And they can ask for articles. I can give them an excerpt of my book that I have. I'll be happy to have a conversation with them. Like I said, my focus is not only, diversity and inclusion, but also global diversity. And that's, I'll be happy to have a conversation with them about that.
Yeah, there's so many, as I'm reviewing your stuff, I'm like, oh, where do we go? What do we talk about? There's so much here. So thank you for trying to bring it down to the actual small business owner, because that's who we're trying to serve, which is a very diverse group of people as well. And so I think that's it's super helpful that you shared those things. So with that, any final words of wisdom or insight for our small business owners?
Just remember, it can be scary, but there are steps that you can actually take in the direction of becoming more culturally competent, of being able to work effectively across differences. In fact, I teach that. I've developed a course on cultural competence development, and I write about that in my book as well. First, you have to, at the very least, acknowledge that differences are there. Then you need to learn about what those differences are. And then you will have to start developing these skills so that you can work effectively across those differences. So there are challenges, but you can overcome those challenges if you just take the small steps to get there.
I love it. Yeah, it can be daunting, but we're talking about the opportunity to do the right thing, but we're talking about the opportunity to grow your business. All of you folks out there listening are saying, how do I grow my business? How do I make more money and work less hours and have less stress. Well, get yourself a diverse set of workforce that can relate to your diverse customers, understand your diverse customers, you know, and Luiza is giving you some basic steps to start to get there. And I think awareness is that first part. So with that, we're going to sign off there. But thank you, Luiza. Just a reminder that the SSB podcast is brought to you by the small business community, which you can check out at smallbusiness.com. And if your community is ready to get revitalized through a revolution in your small businesses, reach out to us. In many places, there's an abundance of funding to help with training, including seminars, masterminds, and coaching that we provide. So we love working with individual business owners. We love working with communities. We have some great packages that can help you out. So get a hold of us, Steve at smallbusiness.com. And with that, we'll sign off till next week. Have a great week. Bye-bye.